For more than 2 years, Prime Minister Theresa May has been driving the Brexit process. But the UK Parliament is unhappy with the road she's taken, so lawmakers are taking the wheel.
The government's approach to Brexit has now become a national embarrassment. After 2 years of failure, broken promises after broken promises, the Prime Minister finally accepted the inevitable last week and voted to extend Article 50 and went to Brussels to negotiate.
So the ayes have it, the ayes have it. Unlock!
In an unprecedented move, MPs have voted to take over Parliament's agenda on Wednesday. They'll put forward a range of possibilities to see what'll garner majority support. The UK has the option to leave the EU on May the 22nd, if lawmakers approve May's deal this week. But even the Prime Minister has her doubts.
It is with great regret that I have had to conclude that as things stand, there is still not sufficient support in the House to bring back the deal for a third meaningful vote.
MPs are expected to consider a softer Brexit than the one mapped out in May's deal. Another possibility is a longer delay to allow time for fresh negotiations. Whatever MPs decide, they'll have to do so quickly.
We're working with the United Kingdom for an orderly withdrawal, but unless we hear from them before the 12th of April, we're also prepared for a no-deal Brexit.
With Brexit gridlocked, the call for the UK to remain part of the EU has grown louder. 5 million people have signed a petition on the UK Parliament's website, calling for Article 50 to be revoked. But it's unclear whether that's enough to persuade MPs to put the Brexit process into reverse. Paolo Montecillo, TRT World.
And let's talk more about the road to Brexit with Vicky Pryce, a board member at the Centre for Economics and Business Research in London. Welcome back to the program, Vicky. British MPs are now set to vote on a range of alternatives to Prime Minister Theresa May's Brexit plan. Could this vote change the course of Brexit?
Well, the interesting thing is that the way in which Brexit is handled has changed very considerably, because the MPs have, as you've been reporting, seized control, which I'm not sure when they did that last and whether they did that effectively. Actually, it did happen some time ago, now that I recall, a few decades ago, and actually didn't lead to anything and had all to do at the time with the sort of the indicative votes that were held with reforming of the House of Lords, if I recall correctly, and didn't actually lead to anything very much at all. So the question now, though, is that the government has reached a point where it looked like it didn't have control itself of the Brexit process. Theresa May, as you've been reporting, had to go to the Europeans and ask for an extension, because obviously we weren't getting anywhere with her own preferred deal. And finally, parliamentarians voted to take control. They tried to do that a few weeks ago and just failed by just a few votes. This time they succeeded. Now, the question is what comes out of it. As I said, when it was done before, it didn't quite lead to anything very much, and may actually play into the hands of Theresa May, who now will be warning the right-wingers who so far had voted against the deal that, look, Parliament is trying to go for a softer Brexit, or possibly they're going to start debating things like another referendum, or revoking Article 50, or a Norway option, and so on. So the alternative to my deal may well be no Brexit, or a really, really soft Brexit, which you don't really want. So why don't we go for my deal, which I think she still intends to bring to the House later this week.
Interesting. We are seeing a softening of the so-called hardcore Brexiteers, including one of her fiercest critics, Jacob Rees-Mogg, who now says that he would support Theresa May's deal, and that's in light of the MP seizing control and, as you say, potentially damaging Brexit altogether. Do you expect other MPs who have rebelled against her to perhaps fall into line?
I think he said he might if the alternative was no Brexit. So let's see how he does that. It's an extraordinary, when I was listening to his podcast, that Jacob Rees-Mogg, who you're referring to, who is the chair of the European Research Group, as they call themselves, the right-wing Brexiteers, he said that I hadn't quite thought or realised that Brexit is a process, not something that happens sort of automatically on the 29th of March and then everything's fine. So Yes, he might, but there are loads of others from what we've been hearing today who are not moving. For the moment, the DUP, which is the Northern Irish Party, which is supporting Theresa May's minority government, have said that they're not going to support the deal. But of course, that can change at any second. But we are also hearing rumours that there may be some announcement about what the timetable might be for Theresa May to leave and to basically resign from being Prime Minister. That is one demand that some people are making as a condition for voting her deal, because they don't really think that she can negotiate the deal from here on once it's voted through. So anything could happen in the next few days.
MPs might also get the chance to vote on a second referendum on Wednesday. How likely is that? Do you think the majority of MPs will support a so-called people's vote?
This is a real problem because, of course, there was an attempt to have a vote on that. There was a vote which was put together by this new independent group and the Liberal Democrats and the Scottish National Party. And what we found is that only 85 MPs voted for it. It will crucially depend on what Labour does for the moment. It doesn't seem to be inclined to vote that way, so it may not go anywhere. And that, of course, will be a real worry for all Labour supporters, because what was agreed in the conference that was held back in the autumn, it was very clear that the party voted to say that if you can't have another election, then we'd go for a referendum. And Labour has been very reluctant. The Labour shadow government has been very reluctant to push that line. So that's a real issue for whether that motion goes through.
OK, we'll see how those indicative votes unfold on Wednesday. Vicky Pryce, thank you for your time, as always.